When starts to tremble at the light that you bring when you walk into the room. Every heart starts burning, and nothing matters more than just to sit here at your feet and worship you. We worship you, Jesus. We love you, and we'll never stop. We can't live without you, Jesus. We love you, and we can't get enough. All this is for you, Jesus. Cause when you walk into the room, sickness starts to vanish. Every hopeless situation ceases to exist. When you walk into the room, the dead begin to rise, 'cause there is resurrection life in all you do. We love you, and we'll never stop. We can't live without you, Jesus. We love you, we can't get enough. All this is for you, Jesus. We love you, we'll never stop. We can't live without you, Jesus. We love you, we can't get enough. All this is for you, Jesus. So come and consume, God, all we are. We give you permission. Our hearts are yours. We want you. Oh, we want you. So come and consume, God, all we are. We give you permission. Our hearts are yours. We want you. Oh, we want you. So come and consume, God, all we are. We give you permission. Our hearts are yours. We want you. Oh, we want you. Come and consume, God, all we are. We give you permission. Our hearts are yours. We want you. Oh, we want you. We love you, we'll never stop. We can't live without you, Jesus. We love you, and we can't get enough. All this is for you, Jesus. Darkness starts to tremble at the light that you bring when you walk into the room. Every heart starts burning.
Good evening. Everybody out there in the crowd's not to scoot over so the worship team can find somewhere to sit down. Oh, man, people can't even laugh at my jokes now. Oh, this might be miserable. Hope everybody's doing okay tonight out there, staying warm, staying dry. Now, normally, when the weather's bad, you got to try to keep it to a minimum or keep it, moving quick so that we can get out here before it freezes. But since nobody's up here and you are all sitting at home in the comfort of your own home, we can go on for a little bit. So sit back, get comfortable, get some hot chocolate, and let's see where we go. Actually, I know exactly where we're going to go. There's no, let's see where we're going to go. So, Romans chapter 12 is one of those books of the Bible. If you've never got a chance to read Romans, and specifically chapter 12, it is one of those things that's like, it's what I call those yay, ah moments. So it's like you hear a certain part of it, and you're like, yay, I like that, that's awesome. And then you hear a part of it, and you're like, oh. And you kind of get this thing, and this is me, I know this isn't anybody else, but it's really, really, really easy to start picking and choosing the things that you want to hear out of Romans chapter 12. And the sad part about it is our lives have become so accustomed to be customized and to be, just for us. We can change our home screen to be the apps that we want to use the most, or we can order certain things in a certain way. And I've heard old timers talk about like the Coke aisle and the chip aisle. When they used to go to the Coke aisle, there was like Coke, Diet Coke, and that was it. And then there was Sprite, and then there was Dr. Pepper, and then there was Pepsi. And next thing you know, you go in Food Lion's Coke aisle, and there's like every single option down there. And we've almost got to where everything is so pick and choose and customizable that we've actually turned religion into that a little bit as well. So I was reading Romans 12, and I was, feeling okay at first. I was like, yeah, that's good. Like I want that's how I want my life to be. And then I read some more, and I was like, yeah, that's good. That's good stuff. And then I was like, oh no, but I don't like that part. I don't want to do that part. So let me just read a little bit and kind of get you a sense of what I'm talking about. All right, Romans 12 says, a living sacrifice. It says, therefore I urge you, brothers and sisters, in view of God's mercy, to offer your bodies as a living sacrifice, holy and pleasing to God. This is your true and proper worship. Do not conform to the patterns of the world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. Then you will be able to test and approve that what God's will is good, pleasing, and his perfect will. So there you go. Easy peasy, right? Present yourself as a living sacrifice. Sounds nice, right? Yeah, we can be a sacrifice to God. That's no problem at all. But then if you start thinking about actual sacrifice. So the original, back in the Old Testament, when they would sacrifice, it was literally because they did something that required God's mercy, or they needed to do something as a sign to God to get his mercy, and that was sacrifice an animal. Then here it's saying this. It says that because of God's mercy, offer your bodies as a sacrifice. So now we've kind of flipped the script on things, and instead of trying to like, God, I messed up, so now I'm offering myself as a sacrifice, God is saying, I forgive you, and I love you, and all the mercies that I've given you. So because of that, live as a living sacrifice. Present your bodies as a living sacrifice. And another thing that kind of stuck out to me is it doesn't say a sacrifice that is alive or a sacrifice that is dying. It's a living sacrifice. We don't get the option of coming and going, because if we're going to be a living sacrifice, it's got to be one of those things it's kind of an all-in deal. And this kind of goes back to that whole pick and choose and which part of it we want to hear is Imagine if God treated us like that. So if all of a sudden he said, that's cool, John. You know, you don't want to always serve. You don't always want to love. You don't always want to do those things. So I don't think I always want to forgive you. Or I don't think I always want to, give you a second, third, 4,000th chance. I think it's okay. You go on and do that stuff, we'll take care of it next time. It doesn't do that. It says because of his mercies that we're supposed to live for him. All right. And then talked about do this. It says do not conform to the patterns of the world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. So that means that you can't wear certain clothes, right? No, I sure hope not. But it does mean that the way you think about things, don't be conformed to the ways of the world. All right. It says, for grace is given, for by grace is given me, I say therefore to you, do not think of yourself more highly than you ought to, but rather think of yourself with a sober judgment. That's not me. I don't think I'm that great. I do. I'm kidding. I say that all the time. I'm like, oh, yeah, look how great I am. It's not necessarily talking about that. We get really kind of twisted sometimes in the confidence of God versus, just being confident and overconfident. And I'll say there's another word. I won't say it because it maybe sound weird. But arrogant is another word for it. So don't be that way. Just be humble. This is just for you. We're of one body and many members, then these members do not all have the same function. So in Christ, we, through many, form one body, and each member belongs to each other. And we have different gifts according to the grace given to each of us. If your gift is to prophesy, then prophesy in accordance with your faith. If it is serve, then serve. And if it's to teach, then teach. If it is to encourage, then give encouragement. And so on and so on, etc. For a few more items that it lists out there, which is where I kind of want to hit on the most today. The first thing he tells us is we need to be a living sacrifice. So because God was merciful and graceful to us, then because of that, we should be a living sacrifice. That means that every breath that we take and everything that we do is a form of sacrifice to God, to give him, honestly, thanks. And it says that is our worship. Sometimes we think that this is our worship, but what we're finding out in our worship classes that we're doing here on Wednesday nights is what we do at home in the secret place is what we will bring with us to worship. So we had this talk, and I may have talked about this before, but, kind of the worship team talked, how are things going, how's everybody feeling, yada, yada, yada. And I said, one thing that God's really been working on me on is when I play drums, I want it to be like my worship. Like I want people to be able to feel and see that I'm worshiping. And I hung my hat on that for a long time. And then I kind of got home and I was doing some reading and I was doing some studying and we had a few more classes and God kind of put me in my place. Because here's the thing is almost every time that we have watched, and we get some videos that we watch that, are from Bethel Church and different, I think they just worship you, but they talk about, different aspects of worshiping and music and all that stuff. And every single one of them says, you cannot do in public what you can't do in private. And you can't bring here what you're not doing in private. So then God said, see, John, here you go. And I was like, but God, that's not fair. Like when the full band's together and I'm playing and Spencer's playing and we're all doing our part, that's when I want my worship to be felt. That's when I want you to really know that I worship. And here's the thing is like, where that is like right here. If that's where I'm at home on my face, or if that's where I'm at when I'm in my truck by myself and nobody's listening to me, I want my worship to be here. I want it to be, I want to touch the drums and God go, ooh, John's fixing to start playing. That's my boy. Y'all watch this. Look at this guy right here. He can throw down. I want that. But I'm not willing to make the sacrifice on my own time to get myself to here. I just expect that God is going to all of a sudden when I step into church, it's going to be like, whoop, and I'm just going to shoot up 10 levels of anointing, and the Spirit's going to hit me in a way that's never hit me before. And because I walked in these sacred halls of worship, and because, we're all here together, that God's going to take me to a whole new supernatural spiritual place. Can He do that? Yep, absolutely. By any stretch of the imagination, He can do that. But the thing is that's not what it says. Be a living sacrifice means every minute, all the time. If you want to be here when you're worshiping here at church, then you need to be like here when you're at home and nobody's there. If we expect, I like the analogy about lifting weights. I want to be strong. I'd love to bench press 300 pounds. So go ahead, Spencer, put 300 on there. I'm going to throw it up just like that. It's not going to work that way. I'm going to get a crushed chest bone, and I'm going to end up in the hospital trying to explain myself I believe that I was stronger than that, and God told me I was fixing to throw up 300 pounds, so I was fixing to do that. But you didn't put forth a single thing beforehand to get it. All right? He says that, I lost my spot. Anyways, it says that whatever you do, do it. If you are a prophet, then prophesy. If you are a giver, then give. All right? And it doesn't say, if you are a giver, then give on occasion when it's convenient. If you are a prophet, prophesy when you're really feeling the Spirit and you're only doing it. No, we gotta do it. And it says that we are all a part of each other, and that we all, what I do is important to Kendra. And what Kendra does is important to me, which is important to Spencer, which is important to Matthew and Malia and Dwayne and everybody. The whole worship team is depending on each other, which makes it a little bit harder on me. Because sometimes I can get by with, I didn't pray this week like I was supposed to, and I didn't really fast any, and it's okay because it's going to affect me. It's just going to affect me. But the thing about it is it says there we're all a part of one body. Even though we all have different functions and do different things, we are all still a part of the same thing. So whether I like to admit it or not, and guys, I'm sorry, because you're the only ones in the building, so I can apologize to you face to face, but when I don't do what I'm supposed to do, and when I mess up, it affects you. And when you mess up and you don't do what you're supposed to do, it affects me. And it's the same thing as sometimes you have great days and you're really feeling it. This is going to be the day. I can feel it. Worship's fixing to break out or whatever it may be. God's fixing to move in this. And then you get there and it's like everybody else is just like, I ain't feeling it. I don't know what's going on. Because we rely on each other and we pull on each other. I noticed last night we had a basketball game at the middle school. And 7th grade happened and it was done. It was, game was over. And then the 8th grade game came out. 2 of the 7th grade players from the other team went and sat on the bleachers. And these girls sat on the very end of the bleachers. It was 2 girls. And then the whole other, 3 sections of the bleachers are our home fans. All right, so I'll walk out for just a minute. Game gets started. I'm going to get some stuff in the concessions and working and doing all this stuff. And all of a sudden, I hear the crowd just going ballistic. Everything is whoa, yeah. And I was like, what are they doing? And then somebody from the inside sent me a text and said, the way things are going, you might need the cops here before too long. And I was like, whoa. I was gone for 10 seconds. What did I miss? And see, what happened was these 2 girls, just 2 people out of the 100 people that were there, these 2 girls from the visiting school started cheering their players on in this just crazy, obsessive way that did nothing but get our fans riled up. And it became this cheering match of, I'm going to cheer louder than you. And I'm like, okay, we have a room full of adults here that are fired up and cheering for our fans or cheering for our basketball team more than they ever had in their entire life because two girls, just two, started cheering. And I was like, that's kind of cool. And then God said, but have you ever seen church be the same way? Have you ever been sitting in a service and you're like, man, I'm really feeling it? God, or you're not even a service, at home or in the car or something, and you get that feeling like, oh, man, I feel God. He's good. I love him. I love him. And it's like you get that, and like you're like those girls, like you got it boiling up inside of you, and you're like, man, the first chance I get, I'll go, woo, God's good. Sorry, baby. I made the baby jump. My bad. And Kendra, I wasn't calling you baby. Sorry. Sorry to the baby. He was like, yes. But it's just like that, it's fixing to bust up out of you. But because you don't see anybody else feeling that way, you're like, oh, not going to do it. I'm going to contain myself, and I'm just going to sit here, and I'm not going to do anything. And then the thing about it is what you don't realize is sometimes God has the exact same thing in you that somebody else has in them, and it's just like, oh, but you don't understand. Like when I drop the Mentos in this 2-liter, I'm going to drop it in every single 2-liter in this place, and this place is going to blow up. But the thing about it is like I'm waiting for somebody to drop that Mentos, and everybody else is going, I'm not dropping my Mentos. I'm going to wait for somebody else to drop their Mentos first. And it says that we all rely on each other. We depend on each other. But somebody's got to drop the Mentos. That's a good analogy. If you don't know what drop the Mentos is, look it up on YouTube. But it says that we're supposed to do our thing and do it well and do it all the time. Like we can't expect big gains in our Christian walk without big work in our Christian walk. We can't expect to just, start throwing out scripture if we're not reading the Bible. We can't expect to throw out prophecy if we're not prophesying. We can't expect these big, huge things. We can't worship like we want to worship in public if we can't worship like we're supposed to worship in person. So God showed me this today and kind of kicked my butt on it. Right before we came to church, I was at home, and you've probably experienced this, but have you ever put your cup in the ice maker and it goes, that's the sound it makes, and no ice falls out. And you could hear it in there. It's like rattling around, and you're like, man, I know there's ice in that maker. And it's, and you're like, daggone it. And you take the thing out, and you walk away, and about that time you hear this, and like all the ice just like hits the floor everywhere. And you're like, daggone it. I waited for that ice for so long, and it's in the floor now. And then you go pick it up. So that happened to me. I was filling up my cup, ironically that cup right here, and I was waiting, and I was waiting, and I was waiting, and I was like, man, this ice is never going to come out. I wasted all my time staying here, and I got mad, and I got frustrated, and I closed the freezer doors. I walked out, and poof, all the ice just falls out on the floor, all that precious ice that I wanted for my cup. And I said, man, so I'm down there, and I'm picking it up, and I'm throwing it in the sink because you don't want to leave it because it makes little puddles. And just like God does in the most inconvenient moments when I've been over and I can feel the blood rushing in my head, and I'm throwing ice in there going, this is stupid ice thing, just didn't do it. And he said, if you would have waited just a little bit longer, I was fixing to give it to you. I was like, you shut up. I didn't tell God to shut up. That was just very disrespectful. But that's how you feel. You're like, God. And I was like, that's the truth, though. When we know something's coming. You know, if you've been promised something and God has told you something, you know it's coming. That ice machine is turning. And we get so tired of waiting that we just turn and walk away. And then what happens when we turn and walk away? Poof, it's gone. I waited all this time for this ice, and now it's gone. And God said, if you would just chill out for a little bit, be patient, don't throw a fit when things don't happen immediately, I'll get you. I got you. You're going to be that living sacrifice all the time. All the time. Not just when it's convenient, not when you're feeling good, but all the time. I think that's kind of where I'm going to stop. I could go on for another like 45 minutes because there's a whole bunch to it. If you've not read Romans 12, chapter 12, read it tonight. Read it sometime this week. But it's chock full. I'll just kind of give you just a rundown of these things of, if you're supposed to do something, like, do it. If you're not supposed to do something, then don't do it. It's pretty simple. Romans 1 through 11, Paul spent the entire time telling the Roman church who God was, how great God was, and why we should love God. And then all of a sudden in chapter 12, it switches the script and he starts turning to, this is what we're supposed to be doing. Because God is that good, and because God loves us and all this stuff, this is why, and this is what. All right? We've lived in the why for so long. It's time to get the what. What we're supposed to be doing. We're supposed to be patient. We're supposed to do what he asks us to do. And if he's told you you're going to do something, then go do it. And then if he says, you know what, I changed my mind, let's do something else, then guess what? Go do that. But be that sacrifice. So thank you guys for watching. Hope you have an awesome night. Stay safe. Stay dry. See you later.